Wearing number 1 for the Los Angeles Traffic today is 9-year-old Tommy Douglas. Tommy has lived most of his life in the hospital after being born with a potato for a heart and will undergo a heart transplant surgery next weekend. He's about as big of a Traffic fan as they come, so in partnership with the Grant-A-Wish Foundation, both teams have agreed to come together and have Tommy run the first play of the game. And he got the handoff, and there he goes. Made a little cutback move, and it looks like he's going to go all the way. Look at him go. Wow. This is really one of those heartwarming moments in sports where you just... Oh! Oh, my God. That is not good.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. We've all seen an athlete who, at one point, was admired and at the top of their game and winning, push their career a little too far and fall off, and often that fall off is completely humiliating. The same thing happens in politics, in fact, where individuals who are punching above their weight end up falling, collapsing, some may say, into a van, like what happened here when Hillary Clinton had to be dragged like a slab of beef into one of those creepy-ass black security vans. Nobody's ever explained why it's only Hillary Clinton that gets these special style of vans. Nobody knew what was inside of those vans, and everyone was saying at this time, yeah, I don't think, if you can't, like, stand during a September 11th ceremony, which is where this was, without losing consciousness, maybe you shouldn't be president of the United States. And we all said that together in unison and delivered this landslide blowout of Hillary Clinton. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump 304 to Hillary Clinton 227. Hang it on the wall here. A historic blowout. You'd assume that Hillary Clinton would retire then, right? Hasn't she had enough news cycles about getting blown out, or maybe having her husband get blown out? You know what I mean? Like, haven't you seen enough? But Hillary Clinton didn't retire, and neither did her husband, even though they should. Here's last known video of Hillary Clinton. This was taken this weekend as Hillary Clinton was going to a Broadway show. People asking for autographs. Okay, fine. But then people notice Bill can barely walk. Watch this. Bill, like woozy and falling over, frail, limping, and staring off into the middle distance. Ugh. Imagine living with Hillary, you know? It's tough to see. They're not doing well. Hillary Clinton is trying to suffer through it all by sabotaging and attacking the Trump administration, much like she did our soldiers in Benghazi. Hillary Clinton is here, chirping in February about the fatal crash that, of course, happened hours after President Trump was sworn in. It's not like anyone made any changes. And Sean Duffy, here is the Secretary of Transportation, nuking Hillary Clinton. I know you're lashing out because Doge is uncovering your family's obscene grifting via USAID, so on and so forth. So this was also followed up by Sean Duffy's daughter saying, just PSA, my dad would never commit suicide. You know, you'd think, again, that Hillary would, like, back off. She didn't need this. She's already embezzled enough money, right, through government slush funds and foreign countries, you know, paying off her evil empire, just like go away. But she doesn't. Hillary Clinton's attempt to troll Donald Trump's low-energy Dear Leader parade spectacularly backfires. Oh, no. Why would you do it? You're so stupid. Hillary Clinton getting completely destroyed over this post right here. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't show you a ratio because she's locked her comments, of course. Compare and contrast the scenes for yesterday's America. On one hand, you have Trump's low-energy Dear Leader parade. This is the celebration of the United States Army. Like, how you were running to be commander-in-chief. That's what it was. It was an army celebration for the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army. She's attacking it. On the other hand, you have millions of people across the country gathering peacefully to say, here we have no kings. Here's what's very interesting, that there was a individual who was the No Kings killer who committed political assassinations with No Kings flyers in the back of his car in Minnesota, so it doesn't sound exactly peaceful. Nor have the riots in Los Angeles been peaceful. They've been trying to commit murder, and there's been hundreds of arrests of No Kings protesters in Los Angeles. So, insane thing to say. This witch was a few votes away from becoming commander-in-chief. This is what she thinks of our military. Buzz Patterson was right. Hillary hates the troops. Buzz Patterson was the long-time military attaché to Bill Clinton. He gives a pretty awesome breakdown of exactly how hated Hillary was by the military uniformed officers at the White House, and vice versa, how much she hated them, how she'd curse them out, go after them. Hillary just hates this country. And we don't have queens either. We have a duly elected president, which you will never be. Says, again, the guy who used to carry the nuclear football for her husband, Bill Clinton. It's got to hurt. It's got to sting. Hillary getting completely dragged here. Oh, the irony that Hillary Clinton locked her account. One thing all Americans agree on, we hate Hillary. Correct, we have no king. We have a Democrat Party that ran a candidate that wasn't selected by the people, a candidate that could only win a debate against a person that she was replacing, a candidate that couldn't rally her party no matter how hard she tried, that lost in a bigger blowout than Hillary. Basically, what you did in Benghazi shows how much respect you have for the military. You should really sit this one out. But you oligarchs are fine. When you lock comments, it's because you know your opinion is effed and you can't handle the smoke. Utter contempt for the army. No replies, what a fraud. Hillary just hates our troops. Here we have Hillary choosing anti-American cosplayers over the army on their 250th birthday of selfless service. She will never be president, and she can't get over it. She really is just a bitter old shrew at this point. Even her social media can't hide that. Ladies and gentlemen, what difference does it make? Well, it does make a bit of a difference because she's saying that nobody showed up for the parade in Washington, D.C., which, of course, is a massive and total lie. We have the clips to prove it. Here's an example of the National Mall. You can see here tens of thousands of people packed in the National Mall, enjoying the sights, sounds, scenery, and loving it. Now, as with any major event in Washington, D.C., there were some big lines to get in. Once everyone was there, it's all filled up. But, I mean, I guess if you're choosing, if you're like selecting photos like in the middle of the day before everybody got there, then you can pick stuff like that. But what a strange flex. We asked Don Jr. and Eric Trump about this weird flex since they were there with their father during this incredible event. Ladies and gentlemen, didn't disappoint. Here we go. So there was a lot of exciting stuff going on this weekend. I just want to pop over because you were sitting there right beside your father at this epic military parade and a celebration of the United States Army, which is what this all was. It was also Flag Day and your father's birthday, so sometimes the stars align. But there were haters, man. There's a lot of haters that are out here, and Hillary Clinton is one of them. Old and bitter and vicious, and through a box of Chardonnay, she posted that this celebration of the United States Army is something that's low energy and a dear leader parade, and it cost $45 million. And she said that the peaceful protests, the No Kings rallies that were burning down multiple American cities and also seemingly had a connection to political assassinations in Minnesota, that those were peaceful. So I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to Hillary here.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. The whole No Kings thing is about as laughable as it gets. It's like, wow, they were successful. Look, guys, there's no kings, Benny. Frankly, there are no kings in America thanks to the United States Army, which we were celebrating the 250th anniversary of, on Saturday. That's exactly why we have no kings. So it seemed like a little bit of a ridiculous protest, especially coming from a party who seems to anoint their leaders. They don't run them through a process. They don't do anything. I mean, Hillary, I guess, wanted to be anointed again. She certainly wanted to be the queen. The people saw how that worked out the first time for her. They realized that she's the least likable person, not just in American politics, but perhaps in the world, and, didn't anoint her. So I guess that made her a little bit upset. But they did anoint Kamala Harris without going through a democratic process. So, like all things, Benny, the left is really good at sort of projecting. They accuse the other side of doing all of the things that they're doing. So, yeah, we have no kings in America. We still don't have any kings in America. We haven't had any kings in America for 250 years. And again, that was thanks to the United States Army, which we celebrated. And if you were there, and I was, on Saturday, you saw this was not something for my father. My father didn't do this. There was a great historical component there, going through the history of the weaponry and the uniforms. I think it was an incredible tribute to the United States Army, to all those people who served so bravely for our country, not just currently, but over the last few centuries. And it was a big deal, and it ended in this incredible fireworks display. But really what I thought was awesome, it ended in sort of the swearing in of this new class of cadets by the President of the United States on Flag Day, on the 250th anniversary of the United States Army. I thought it was just absolutely amazing.
I was hoping to get to this, but since you brought it up, I just have to jump really quickly to the No Kings protests here. Of course, you have a political assassin that was just apprehended in Minnesota that had No Kings flyers in the back of his car. You've seen the violence in L.A. They have this logo, which is putting almost like a target on your father's head. It's like an X through your father's head. After all of that, after everything that you just detailed, the multiple assassinations and the actual scope trained on your father's head, who took a bullet to the head for this country, the only president in my lifetime or yours that would ever do that and did do that. What will they stop at? I mean, this seems patently evil. It seems like they're once again calling for violence, and they are violent.
I mean, you had the FBI director, the former FBI director, Benny, who literally said 8647, right? Kill 47, and he just miraculously found this while walking along the beach, written in shells. I mean, the wave patterns, the H2O patterns of, right, and sand movements just happened to arrange shells that said kill the 47th president of the United States. This came from the ex-FBI director, right? This is the crap that we're dealing with, right? And it's I went to the military parade, and I've never been so kind of honored to sit behind my father at that parade, and it was beautiful. People were singing the national anthem. They were, saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And by the way, you had hundreds of thousands of people celebrating the birthday of the greatest army ever created on the face of this earth. Not a problem, not a insulting word, not a curse word used, no fights, no anything. And then you flip to the other side of the country, go to LA, where you look at an overpass where these mongoloids are throwing cinder blocks at cops in cop cars and ravaging them. I mean, there's a fleet of cop cars that were absolutely destroyed. They're totaled. They will never be used again because people decide to throw bricks, and rocks and other heavy objects at them. They try and take the lives of law enforcement. They burn cars. They destroy cities. They all use it as an excuse to loot, and rob homes and rob stores and everything else. And it's total chaos. Listen, you're showing the great clips on the screen right now, right? You didn't have any of this in Washington, D.C. Have you ever had any of that at any of the Trump rallies? Huh. And honestly, Benny, the American people are really, really smart, and they get it. And it's driving the center, right? And it's even driving rational, Democrats farther and farther right, because they don't want to put up with this crap. They don't want to put up with that Molotov cocktail that just got thrown off the bridge right there. They don't want to put up with the graffiti. That's their taxpayer dollars being burned that you're looking at right now. And it's really interesting. The one thing that Republicans don't do is wear masks. And isn't it really amazing that every single one of those people is wearing a mask? It's disgusting, when they're flying flags of foreign nations while standing around, American taxpayer paid for cop cars that are really, really expensive, laughing at them while they burn. You better believe they're putting a lot of people in the Republican Party right now.
Yeah, I do wonder, at some point, you have to ask, do they just hate America? Because Hillary Clinton came after you. So Hillary Clinton came directly for you and your father, and she posted actually photos of the parade this weekend, saying that this
Benny,
is...
Do they hate America?
Well, I want to get you to respond to Hillary
rocks
here.
At cops.
So Hillary says, compare and contrast the scenes yesterday in America. Okay, on one hand, you have Trump's low energy Dear Leader parade. And then on the other, you have millions of people gathering peacefully. Except for there was a serial killer who was committing political assassinations with no King's flyers in the back of his car, but, we're just going to ignore that. I'd like to get you to respond to Hillary Clinton here.
But by the way, the parade was anything but low energy. It was absolutely one of the most beautiful signs of patriotism I think our country's ever seen. I was honored to be there, and the meaning that it had for the United States military. When I'm getting texts from everybody I know saying, my kids were watching that parade and now they want to serve our great country, that's an absolutely beautiful thing. And by the way, if you want to talk about low energy, talk about Hillary Clinton, a person who was planning her convention at the Javits Center in New York with tens and tens of thousands of balloons falling out of the sky, as opposed to campaigning in Pennsylvania. You want to talk about low energy, I'll give you low energy, right? The people who weren't low energy were the people who wore out about 400 pairs of shoes running through every swing state in the country, and then did it again in 2020 and 2024. I wouldn't exactly say that, Hillary should be talking, to anybody in our family about, energy or charisma or anything else. But, she should be looking at the cop cars that are burning, and she should be condemning that, not a beautiful parade commemorating the hundreds of thousands of servicemen over the years that have fallen in defense of our great nation, starting 250 years ago and going all the way through, today, having won, virtually every battle, have kept every evil out of this country. How a politician can't get behind that, Benny, is like, it's just unfathomable to me.
I just don't think she's ever gotten over it, Eric. I think she'll hold that bitterness and her box of Chardonnay forever and ever and go on walks in the woods. Yeah. And it's just like it's really hideous and ugly. But she was running for commander-in-chief, and here she is bashing the U.S. Army on this birthday, which is all this was about.
Go figure. And supporting people who are burning cop cars that are paid for by U.S. taxpayers. And by the way, a state that already has serious problems, which is the state of California, where their budget deficits are through the roof. The last thing that they need to do is go out and buy new cop cars because perfectly good ones were destroyed by a bunch of anarchists. That's the last thing California needs.